Welcome back to Cheddar, everyone. There are some new developments on the long-rumored Apple car. Looks like the answer to the question, will they or won't they, is a little clearer. According to CNBC, Apple is close to finalizing a deal with Hyundai-Kia to build an Apple-branded driverless electric vehicle at the big Kia plant in Georgia. Joining me now is Lisa Eadicicco, who is the senior tech correspondent at Business Insider. Lisa, great to have you here with us today. What can you tell us about this potential deal?
Yeah, so it sounds like Apple is kind of pivoting from the plan that we thought it had, which was to create software for self-driving cars. That report came out a few years ago, but now it sounds like Apple might be turning back to actually creating a self-driving car of its own. Now, of course, we don't know a lot of details just yet. Apple is notoriously secretive, so we won't really know for sure until they come out and say it. But based on the report from CNBC and another recent report from Reuters, it really sounds like Apple might be working with Hyundai-Kia to create an actual self-driving car that possibly might not even have a steering wheel and is set to go into production in 2024. So again, this does seem like something that would be a little far out. The fact that the CNBC report mentions that it won't have a steering wheel, that alone should be a big clue that this is not something that would be coming in the near term. But it definitely seems like Apple is definitely trying to step into that category, into a market that by some estimates could be worth 10 trillion.
This is a huge deal, especially for Hyundai-Kia. What's the significance of that partnership being selected by Apple?
I think reports that we've seen so far do caveat that there's always a chance that the deal could fall through and they might not go with Hyundai Kia. But given Apple's record and Apple's history in making products that tend to be really popular and tend to popularize the category, I could imagine any car company would want to be a part of that. And of course, I think it's mutual though, because I think a lot of these car makers realize that technology is going to be a really big part of the future of the car. And also, I think a lot of tech companies realize that the future of the tech industry to some degree is in the car, just like we've seen tech expand into the home, into wearable technology and other areas. So I think it's really kind of mutually beneficial there. Both of these industries have a really strong incentive to work together on this.
Easy to get hung up on what we hear and that there may not be a steering wheel, which would break the conventional knowledge that we all know about driving and automobiles to this point in time. So how much does this really signal that Apple wants to innovate in this space? Have we heard about any other auto manufacturers that have tossed around the idea of a steering wheel-less vehicle, and how significant would it be if Apple and Hyundai-Kia were the first ones to be able to successfully bring this to the market?
Well, it's really interesting that you say that because, this is a type of concept that we've seen a lot before, especially at CES. A lot of automakers have plenty of ideas for designs for futuristic cars because when you think about it, in the future, if self-driving cars get to that point where they are commercially available and they are on the road, if you don't have to drive, a lot of these companies are thinking about, well, what will you be doing in the car if you're not driving, if your attention isn't 100% focused on the road like it is right now. So at CES, you do see a lot of concepts from different automakers like that don't have steering wheels, where the interior of the car looks more like a living room than it does a traditional car. So I do think that it would certainly be significant, but again, it's so early. These reports do caution that, Apple might not even go through with it. They might pivot again. And even the fact that there's been so much uncertainty around Project Titan, which is Apple, rumored to be the name of Apple's self-driving car initiatives, there's been so many changes that, that alone tells you that it's such a difficult industry to crack into, that even Apple, a company as big as Apple, with as much success as Apple, with as much money as Apple, is having a hard time figuring it out. So it would certainly be significant, but I do think it's a ways down the road.
You ask what we're doing with no steering wheel in the car, we're definitely not keeping our hands at 10 and 2. I know that for sure. I also want to talk about Apple's mixed reality headsets, if we may. What do we know about these? When can we expect them on the market?
So this is another somewhat challenging for Apple. Reports from Bloomberg and other places in the past have kind of focused on how Apple has kind of switched up its approach a little bit. But based on what we know, what's been recently reported, it sounds like Apple could be working on something that's more like a virtual reality headset that would give developers the opportunity to create really good apps for this platform before eventually creating a sleeker pair of smart augmented reality glasses that more closely resemble the traditional eyeglasses that people currently wear today. So I think that's another example of a space that Apple is really trying to break into because, again, the big question that's been on everyone's mind over the past decade is what's going to be next after the iPhone? What is the next big computing platform? What is the next breakout product for Apple? So I think we're in this stage now where Apple is still kind of, riding on the success of the Apple Watch and AirPods, which have been hugely popular. But it's in that phase where we're getting close to figuring out what's next, but we're still not quite there yet. So, I think virtual and augmented reality will certainly be a part of that. Tim Cook has talked about augmented reality a lot over the past few years. So I think we'll just have to wait and see. But I think, that one could be coming sooner rather than later. Who knows?
Lisa Eadicicco, who is the senior tech correspondent at Business Insider. A lot of stuff upcoming. We know that you'll continue to keep us updated. We appreciate the time here, breaking it all down today.